Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to this episode of the Carmudgeon Show, a product of the Haggerty podcast, word that starts with department, apartment.
Today we are talking about a bunch of different things. We're going to do a random quiz provided by one of our readers on obscure stuff. And then we're going to talk about the state of the Manual transmission in the United States by looking at who's actually buying manuals and why they're not.
And the take rates among various different cars, as reported by the manufacturers themselves.
To somebody else. Yeah.
To a third party.
Information we're stealing. If you like our stuff, please consider joining the Haggerty Drivers Club, which includes unlimited flatbed tows for all of your classic cars, and a subscription to our award-winning magazine, as well as cool things like VIP events, access to our evaluation tools, and discounts on all of your favorite shit from really cool companies.
And if you like our stuff and the rest of the Haggerty video department's stuff, then you can consume it via Samsung on channel 1194.
Yes, all the time. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Instead of consuming it where you're currently consuming it.
No, we want them to watch you.
Yeah.
We don't have watch.
In addition.
In addition. Yeah. Leave your TV on in the background. It's great. Okay, bye.
Been out till quarter to three. Would you lock the door? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? All right.
Something very V80 started
Subaru.
outside. Yeah. Oh, that is a Subaru.
Yeah. Definitely a Subaru.
That's quite
stock.
Spicy.
Quite stock.
No.
It depends.
Maybe if Subaru sounded like that rather than this flatulent blenders that they sound
like a 718.
Right.
When is the acceptable time to own a 4-cylinder 718? When the alternative is walking.
Even then. Walking has health benefits. 718 has no benefits to humanity.
It has risks. Adverse health effects.
It's got a California Proposition 13 or whatever.
65.
65. Warning on it. This car can cause cancer and bad taste. There's no reason why this car should exist. Okay, I have a laptop open. You have things we should probably explain what's going on.
We've finally lost it?
That's been a long time in the making.
You mean completed long ago?
Yes.
We should use the past tense, not the progressive.
Okay, why do you have cards?
They were gifted to us around the time of Christmas, and we sort of just became aware of them.
Yeah, I was clearing out boxes, and that fell out. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this? I mean, we have plenty of gifts from readers, like the Carmudgeon Show logo over here, which I love.
You can do many things with the Carmudgeon Show, but read it is not one of them, unless you're reading the comments. Listeners, watchers.
Carmudgeon Show readers. Maybe he's reading the transcript. Do you know what? Okay, tell them what we just did.
We just had a nap. Sorry, lunch. Napgenesis. Napogenesis.
Napogenous. We just had lunch, and that means we're both goofy and sugar high.
Potentially mentally deranged. Okay, so the first card says, the cards are...
Oh, okay.
The cards are a gift... Yes. From a Carmudgeon watcher or listener or reader. Or victim. Carmudgeon victim.
Who lives in Canada.
Who lives in Canada and is responsible for the presence of the Rover SD1 in our life.
And for probably at least a half a pound on me.
Yes, of caloric input.
Cookie Crisps.
He sent Coffee Crisps.
Fuck.
And also, Cookie Crisp is the Bandit Dog cereal.
I don't remember the Bandit Dog, but I was not allowed to eat sugary cereal growing up. So I wouldn't know.
I was given free reign with the idea that I would tire myself out on it, and
one of us is fat and the other one is not. So
there
whose
you go.
Mom's plan worked
you
better?
Just let children. I mean, it was just like my friends all loved coming to my house because it was just candy and soda.
Are you serious?
And whatever you could imagine was just freely available. And so all the other kids went batshit insane when they came over. It was not of interest to me because it was not scarce.
The fucked up thing is, like, my mom, I agree with most of her decisions, like, now in retrospect as a parent. Like, I totally understand what she was thinking and why. We could have, like, free discussions about sex and, like, drugs. Like I could ask her like, what's LSD like? And she would tell me like, just know like, oh, you wouldn't like it so much because this is whatever, like mom, should I do Coke? No, you would hate it. You know what it feels like? Go drink 3 pots of coffee. Like, and then come back and tell me how much you like it. You're much more of like a downer kind of guy. She would give me that kind of advice, like real advice, which took the sting out of drug use. Like I never did any drugs because I didn't need to. I wasn't curious about it. Never drank, never did anything. However, I wasn't allowed to eat anything that was good. Except, I mean, like my mom was a great cook, but like everything we ate was like fresh and homemade, and there was no like SpaghettiOs,
Processed anything,
never. And the joke is that now as an adult, she's like, there was ice cream in the house, but I hid it from you guys. Like I would go get it after you were sleeping and then go eat the whole fucking pint before you got up in the morning because a pint is 1 serving of ice cream. But we didn't know any better. Like we were just like, oh my God, I'm hungry. And my mom's like, have an apple. It was like fruits, vegetables, that's it. My sister she's going to kill me for even saying this. We both have the slowest metabolisms known to man. We are both constantly fighting being 400 pounds. And you ate got it all out of your system as a kid and are thin.
Yeah, I never drink soda because it was always widely available.
Soda Sunday, 1/2 of 1 glass, diluted 50-50 with whatever I wanted. That was it.
Could it be more soda?
No, the choices were milk to make it disgusting and unpalatable, or tap water or fizzy water, like seltzer. That was it. But no desserts. Maybe on a Sunday, like at my grandmother's house, she would go like in the bakery and buy like a little box of Italian cookies. But no dessert consisted of, why didn't you eat more for dinner? Have some salad. But like, and every meal was like a salad, a vegetable, and a meat, like a protein, a starch, or whatever. Very, very like regimented, really good shit.
Restrictive.
And by the time I was 15, I was overweight. And then I went to college and like, man, I packed it on.
Yeah, because you were
crazy. I was like, what is this Twix thing?
Yeah.
Snickers? It's amazing. I mean, I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes and ate nothing but like shit for my first year of college. And I gained a freshman 40. And then lost it all. And then quit smoking how many years later? Put on 42 pounds in 5 weeks. That's my crowning achievement.
Wow.
That was a lot. And then lost it all. And then this past year gained it all back somehow. Anyway.
This topic, why did we start talking?
Because
coffee crisps.
Coffee crisps. Yeah.
Right.
Which is I won't have a candy bar. Like the joke is, I got that all in my system. You would look at me and think I'm the one that ate constantly. He eats nonstop. Quote, I have to be fed every 20 minutes or he like passes out. Meanwhile, I could eat once a day. I'll have a salad and I'm put on 6 more pounds.
Fuck you. Salad weight.
Yep.
Okay,
so it's the fried chicken sandwich that's gone together
inside of that has been ground up and used as salad dressing. The cards are currently face down. Dish them out Uno style. Each contains a question. Some have A, B, C, D. 2 are true false, and a few are Jeopardy style. Good luck. Okay, so we have some of these. We can maybe do some or all of them.
To be very clear, we have not looked through this.
We have not looked through them. I have no idea what any of them say.
I saw the cover letter and I just put it away and I'm like, I'm just going to give this to Derek.
Likewise, I've not seen this. But we also were supposed to have an episode topic for today too. Would you like to do that before we do this, or do you want to do this in lieu, or?
Well, fuck it. Let's just see how long this takes. We don't know how long this is going to take. This could be a whole episode. This could be great, or in... So Uno style is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Yes.
How many questions are there? 4, 5, 6. Sorry for everyone at home. 7, 8. Looks to be about 20 questions. 9, 10. What would... You just gave yourself 2.
Did I?
Yeah.
Do you want another extra? Here you go.
I don't know. We're going to count when we're done. In the meantime, so the other topic we were going to talk about is manual transmissions, with which I think that, hold on, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I see. And we ask them of the other person.
8, 9. I have 9 questions. And you probably have 11.
What is that? What's blank?
This is blank. Should we be... Jake, are you going to keep track of who gets what? Okay, Jake says he's going to be...
7, 8. Okay, I have 8.
Here, have a blank one. Okay, whatever. So we'll have one as a tiebreaker. How about that?
Okay.
Tiebreaker question is right here. All right, go.
Oh, this is appropriate. What was the first road car to be fitted with a 6-speed manual transmission? Here's your choices.
Oh.
Hongqi CA72, Toyota 1600 GT, Bajaj Tempo Matador F307, Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale.
Did the 33 have a 6-speed? I'm going to say it's the most likely one, but it's too early to have a 6-speed. Yes, Alpha 33, just because that sounds like more fun. Get the fuck out. Did you know that?
No.
Oh my God, he got both of us. This kid's good. Okay, me next. True or false? The original Smart Fortwo has a split folding rear boot.
Is that a true or false?
That's what happens when I say true or false and then make a
statement. Did you say true or false?
True or false? The original Smart Fortwo has a split folding rear boot.
I think it does, yes.
True. Yeah.
Between 1979 and 1983, this Western manufacturer exported roughly 5,500 cars to East Germany. Western manufacturer to East Germany.
5,500 is not that many cars.
But a Western manufacturer that could sell that many cars in East Germany. East Germany's not that big, and people weren't that moneyed.
Yeah, so it's obviously not going to be Rolls-Royce, because Rolls-Royce made...
They probably didn't make 5,500 cars for the world.
Oh, no, they didn't make 500 for the car for the world at that point.
79 and 83, so 4-year period.
Fiat.
Good guess.
Because they did wind up with Lada and whatever else. Okay.
Yeah, no, it is... do you want a hint, or you want me to just divulge?
Hint.
It is the car has 4 horizontally opposed cylinders.
Alpha Sud.
No, also a good guess. And is French. 1979 to 83, 4-cylinder horizontally opposed.
What the fuck? French car company made a flat
Citroën
4?
GS.
The GS was a flat 4?
When it wasn't a rotary.
Sacre bleu, je ne sais pas. The Melkus RS logo holds the distinction of being the only communist sports car. Where was it manufactured? A, Beijing. B, Königsberg. C, Dresden. Or D, East Berlin. Or Berlin, as the Germans would say. Ostberlin?
I have no idea. Beijing. I'm completely stumped.
This was the point. This kid's mean.
I know.
A, he gives coffee crisp. B, he made me buy a Rover.
He also asked us some absurdly obscure question
live
in
at Radwood.
Yes, live.
That stumped us.
Yes, the Asuna Sunfire. That was the answer. I don't remember the question.
Yeah, I don't remember either. It was a rebadge of something.
Yes, God. From GM. So what's the answer?
C, Dresden. Dresden, which is where the Volkswagen Phaeton factory
Glass factory with the hardwood floors.
How do you know they were hard? Maybe it was just early in the morning.
Softwood morning
oak.
Yes. Okay, North Korea often makes copies of cars from more... I might actually know this one. More established manufacturers. The more famous example is the Gyeongsang 88. What is this a copy of?
BMW X5.
My guess is the Audi C3. Mercedes W201. We were both wrong.
We have to look this up.
I've seen pictures of this thing. It looks like a 201, but the face is deformed.
Okay, true false. The first car on Antarctica was a Volkswagen Beetle.
False.
Correct. Do you know what it was?
No, but I'm going to guess it was in the 1930s.
It was in 1908. Although the car, the way he phrased it, it was the of 1908. So the car would appear to have been in 1908. And then there's a sort of slightly correction. His handwriting is not exactly perfect. So it's an Areola Johnston or just an Ariel Johnston.
Okay. Nipple car. Got it. Which car manufacturer collaborated with NGK to engineer the first ceramic turbocharger?
NGK. So my guess is it wasn't...
You have 4 choices. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely what...
So let's hear the 4 choices. Okay. Mitsubishi, Nissan, Isuzu, or Daihatsu?
Mitsubishi.
Nissan.
Yeah, Mitsubishi uses IHI.
It's a Fairlady Z from 1985.
You know I don't do turbos. What year did the mandate for the 5-mile-an-hour bumper impact absorbing bumper go into effect?
This is tough because it was sort of progressive, but I would say 1974.
He says 1973.
Yes, because the E-Type did get in the front in 73.
Yes,
73 is
that's the
right.
standard by which
73. Well, no, Porsche did that too with the rubber overriders on 73 911s. Okay, I will accept that.
Okay.
Because it is doubtless right. This first generation Ford model was sold in Korea as the Kia Pride, in Australia and Europe as the Mazda 121, and was sold by other manufacturers as the SAIPA and Guangdong. What was it sold as in North America?
Aspire.
Close. Same car, but one generation earlier.
Oh, then it was a Festiva.
Yes.
Not a Fiesta.
Yes.
So one isn't Festiva the past participle of Fiesta forever, which would be in retrospect Festiva back then. Right. Oh my God. This is a whole entire paragraph. I come from Japan. My design was inspired by a Lancia concept by Giugiaro. Some consider me the first, quote, minivan because of my layout and dual sliding doors. I can seat between 5 and 8 passengers depending on seating configuration. My CD is 0.40. I first entered production in 1982, but didn't come to North America until the mid-1980s. What car am I? And don't say my Vangina. My Vangina.
Your Vangina? I'm gonna guess this is like the Colt Vista Mitsubishi box thing that they did in the 80s.
No. Nissan Stanza Wagon Multi Prairie.
Oh, that's like the same genre of car.
Close, yeah.
Okay.
Different car.
Which manufacturer first put a 5-valve head on a production car? Ferrari, Bugatti, Mitsubishi, or Skoda?
It is definitely Mitsubishi. They had a patent on it, in fact. And Bugatti paid Mitsubishi a patent.
The
put it in the EB110.
Mitsubishi Minica Dangan ZZ.
ZZ. Which means 5 valves per cylinder in Japanese. This manufacturer was caught cheating in the 1995 WRC. Ouch. I'll repeat it again. This manufacturer was caught cheating in the 1995 World Rally Championship.
Citroen?
I mean, those fucking French. But no, it's Japanese.
So it has to be Toyota or Mitsubishi.
Yeah, it does.
Mitsubishi.
No. 50-50 shot and you still fucked it up. Toyota with the ST205 Celica GT4.
Okay. This Japanese auto manufacturer developed and tested a vehicle with a ceramic diesel engine in 1982.
Is it a 4 like ABCD?
Nope.
Okay. 1982 ceramic diesel.
What does that even mean?
The block is made out of ceramic instead of
I've never heard of an internal combustion engine being made of ceramics.
I mean, you could make ceramics really, really tough. I mean,
yeah, no, I know they're up
bearings,
to it. Yeah, I know
right,
that they're up
turbos.
to it. I just didn't know that anyone ever made an engine block.
Me neither. I mean,
was
somebody
ceramic.
tried to do one out of plastic. It was a thing. I remember it somewhere, some of my research. I don't remember. Somebody tried to do it. Anyway, I'm going to call this sounds too crazy for Toyota. It sounds
Diesel.
Everyone made a diesel though. I mean, it wasn't going to be Mazda because Mazda was too busy futzing around with rotaries. I'm actually
Developed and tested, not production.
yeah. But who had money to do that in 1982?
Who had money to hire Giorgetto Giugiaro to do anything?
Isuzu? Get out.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
right?
That's
There you
interesting. Which manufacturer first featured direct coil pack ignition on a production car? Is it Honda? Is it Buick? Is it Audi? Or is it Nissan? By the way, we haven't fact checked any of this. We're just taking the word first by some diabetes-causing Canadian who forced us to buy a Rover and forced you to sell your share out to me. So I'm now a single parent of a Rover SD1.
It's very confused.
The fuck am I going to do with this car?
Developmentally bereft.
Which manufacturer
I'm
first
just stalling. I have no idea.
direct coil pack ignition in a production car? Honda, Buick, Audi, Nissan.
Nissan.
Nissan direct injection system or NDIS.
Okay. Okay.
Good guess.
Approximately how many VW Beetles were made between 1938 and 2003? So this is the first generation Beetle.
21.7 million. I don't know. Are you?
Your choices are 20.2, 22.6, 21.5, or 19.8. Those are tightly clustered.
21.5.
Correct. Yeah. And this one's
what did I say? It's 21.7? Yeah,
Yes.
I knew it was somewhere. Ah, God. Last one. Lancia, otherwise known as Lancia, was the first manufacturer to feature twin charging. Sorry. Lancia was the first manufacturer to feature twin charging on an engine. Who was the second? Is it Nissan? Is it Saab? Is it Aston Martin? Or is it Opel? Aston Martin.
Aston Martin never did that. They twin supercharged a car, but
Yes.
they never twin charged a car. So it's not Aston Martin. What are the other choices?
Opel.
Opel.
Popel?
Yeah.
Opel means snot in German. That's mean. Opel did actually consider a twin charged engine for the Omega, the Carlton.
There you go.
But I'm not telling you that's the answer. One of the other potentials is Saab. Did Saab ever twin charge anything?
Is this for production applications?
I mean,
Is it specified?
probably production.
What are the other choices?
Saab. So it's Opel, Aston Martin, Saab, or Nissan.
Nissan.
Yeah, the March Super Turbo.
There you
All
go.
right. What's the scores?
That tied it up.
Oh shit! And that was the tiebreaker, I think. Yeah, I think. Oops. All right. Well, we're tied.
Unless you wanted to demerit 1 point for Garrett because he tried to guess on that one and also got it wrong.
Oh yeah. Had you kept your fucking mouth shut? So, Jake, if you guys couldn't hear that, said reminded
I got
us
a
that
demerit for guessing and still getting it wrong, or with a
those
hint.
Those are good questions. I'm
They're
sure
very
the
obscure.
audience will fact check it.
Right.
So, yeah. So maybe one of us actually did win. And we just don't know. But as it stands right now, we are both equally curmudgeonly and dumb. Okay. So the actual topic of this episode, we are 22 minutes in. That was a good 20. I think I have a card game called Carmudgeon.
Didn't we play this
played
on the
that once.
train?
At some point 200 years ago.
Yeah, March of
the first
February of 2020,
Lockdown.
right before lockdown.
Yeah, that was crazy. It's obscure shit, but we could possibly do a trivia show occasionally, or just a couple cards. Anyway, so the actual topic that we're going to talk about is that of the manual transmission, and not the sort of normal like the manual's going away, but a little bit.
We could do that too. We can.
We're going
include
to.
it. Yes,
I'm just trying.
It's
to pretend that we're
inevitable,
not, right? But I guess my question is more, why is it going away? And then the first thing to look at is, let's examine those cars that are still available with a manual transmission and
in the United States, which is a unique market.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody else wants them anymore except us. So Motor One, to their credit, actually asked every manufacturer who sells manual transmission cars in the U.S. what the take rate was, and most responded. And so I'm just going to go down the list, and I think it's great talking points.
Okay.
So this is in alphabetical order. Acura makes an Integra, and then there are two of them. Obviously, there's the A-Spec, which is the Civic Si, and then the Type S, which is the Civic Type R. They sold...
Spec.
What?
A spec? A spec?
A spec, yes. As opposed to a secretary, which is a typer. See? Type R is a type. Anyway, 32,090 Integra sold in 2023 was the total. What do you think the take rate was?
Is this for both variants?
For both. Yeah. I mean, there's some interesting thing. The Type R is, of course, or the Type S, the Civic Type R, is manual only. So that, I wish they would have broken them up.
Yeah, that would be helpful. 43%.
No way. 22. So the interesting thing on this was that
I would love to know what percentage of the production was the Civic Type R.
Well, to me, I think actually 22% is really high. And there's a reason why. First of all, the original take rate for the pre-order cars when the Integra first came out, which were manual only, was earlier on. They were 70% manual.
That surprises me not at all.
No, exactly. But 22 doesn't surprise me, and we'll get to Civic later because you can only get the manual on the. I think it's just the base model. No, I'm sorry. It's not available on the base model. It's only available on the top spec, which is $37,000. So 38 plus
markup
delivery. Okay. So BMW, they've talked about both M2, M3, M4. But let's talk M2 first. So M2 is available with a dual clutch or a manual. It's ostensibly a compact rear wheel drive 2+2 thing. It is the size of a Buick Grand Wagoneer or something. I don't know. It's enormous.
The Buick Grand Wagoneer.
It's the size of a 1990s full-size pickup truck.
39% manual.
50. And this is one of the things that is really, you're going to see a couple cars like this that are really tough to digest. What we've been saying to car companies, we as enthusiastic manual transmission fan journalists have been saying to product planners for years is if you build the right car with a manual, people will really buy it. And a 50% take rate is pretty incredible, considering that in the case of the M2, the manual doesn't work nearly as well with the car as an automatic does. The dual clutch has much shorter gear ratios for reasons we'll talk about later, much tighter, closely spaced gear ratios. It's a turbocharged car. Turbos always do better with automatics because they can shift so quickly that they don't lose boost off. They don't drop boost between shifts. So like there's just the recipe is there to go with the automatic on that car. I would obviously still buy the manual, and so would 50% of people. And then you have a car that's effectively mechanically identical, which is M3, M4. And so my question is,
I think the take rate will be lower in that car.
why is that?
It's just instinctive to me. I don't know why. Why? Let's see. Do I have a why for that? I just think it's lower. I think that it's a different buyer. I think about the type of person who's attracted to the concept of the 2 Series from the person who would be. They're less status oriented in my eyes, and I don't know why that is. I just feel that way.
So M3 buyers are dickbags, is what you're saying?
Yeah, they're more status oriented. Yeah, that's what I said.
I said what I said. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're gonna find too many people who are status whores who are buying M2s.
Yeah, it's a little bit frumpy looking. It's a little wacky. It's kind of the distant descendant of like the clown shoe thing. Where you're like, well, that's weird. It's kind of cool, but weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's not mainstream. There's something more mainstream about the M3. It's more beautiful. It's more sort of assertive and sort of exotically proportioned or beautifully proportioned.
M3 is other than
M3.
the stupid fucking grill.
Yeah.
Well,
I think M4 also.
M4 I think is horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
I'm not, and grill aside, I mean, I think current 3 Series is a really good looking car with great
Except
proportions.
the face.
Butter face. And then the M4 is just a discordant, non-cohesive smattering of shitty styling cues that don't speak to each other. The side of it looks like a Civic or an Accord coupe from 10 years ago. The car just doesn't have any presence. But
certainly not any coherent presence.
Right. Before I even tell you what the number is, this is an argument that I used to have with BMW's product planners often. When you start to make cars that are enormous, people stop buying manuals. And so when we look at things like this current 3 Series, it is larger inside than a 1980s 7 Series. And so there are a bunch of different ways you can measure the size of a car. You can talk about its weight, you can talk about its length, you can talk about width, wheelbase, all this other stuff. So its wheelbase is as long as a 7 Series was. Its interior volume is as large as a 7 Series was. But more importantly, I think large cars tend to be very, very isolated from the engine, from noise, vibration, and just the feeling that these cars are running. This was a problem that you had with the Golf, your GTI, where you would stall it because you thought the engine was off, and you go to get out of it and it's still in first, and because you can't even feel the thing running.
Yes.
The more large and isolated the cars are, the less likely people are to buy a manual. The longer dash to axle, I think, is also a big feature. 3 Series now are so big that you have to do a ballet stretch to press the clutch all the way down. It's actually not a comfortable manual transmission car to drive. And this has been the case since really E90. It was just too far of a reach. But we're just so far beyond that to me that these cars just don't belong as manuals. And back then you could get a 735i automatic manual.
Yes.
And do you know how many people did?
6.
2. If I remember correctly, it was 2. And one of them was
Sorry, you're talking about E23 or E32?
E32.
One of my friends in elementary school's mom had one, a black on black 735 stick shift.
You're kidding. That might be the only one.
No, there was a gray one that I tried to buy also locally.
Okay, there's 2. Those are the 2.
Those are the 2.
They might be the only 2 ever. I remember them being able to be telling me.
No,
the
and then
numbers.
there was a gray one that your friend Mike had that he was selling as well. Different gray one than the gray one that I was thinking about. I mean, points being the take rate was very low.
Was effectively 0, right? And that killed the idea of a manual transmission. So I would always use that as an example. Once the car is so big, nobody wanted a manual S-Class. You bought a manual S-Class in Europe because you didn't want to pay for the automatic or the fuel that it used. You didn't buy it because, it's fun to drive, a manual S-Class. Of course, we like it because it's stupid.
Novel.
Yeah. So you're right. The M3, M4 manual take rate is 20%. Which is far less than half of what the M2s is, proving the point. The same car. It's the same everything. But the smaller car wins. The Blackwing, Cadillac did not disclose. Camaro did not disclose. Challenger did not disclose. Mustang.
Challenger?
Yeah.
It's
Challenger.
available the manual?
Allegedly.
I'm
I'm sure Dodge declined to tell anyone because they don't want anyone to know how low it was. It's embarrassing. It was probably single digits. Hold on. I mean, single digit sales. I don't mean percentage.
Oh.
I mean, 1 a month, maybe. Ford failed to disclose, but when the new Mustang dropped, 27% of the orders were for the 6-speed. That tracks. I'm guessing if you look at something like a Dark Horse, or GT Performance, sort of E kind of models, you'll see way higher than that. But there's a 4-cylinder.
Yes, the only people who buy manuals now are enthusiasts. So if it's an enthusiast car, you could expect to see manuals. Yeah,
the sort of college professor wearing tweed who wanted the manual Nissan Stanza is now dead and also not buying cars. Civic.
By virtue of deadness.
Yeah, by virtue of this non-livingness. Civic Manual.
All flavors or?
All flavors. So it's SI and Type R are manual only, but you can get a manual in Sport and Sport Touring.
Really? And to answer this question properly, I want to know what proportion of total Civic sales are SI and Type R. I have to imagine that
200,000 Civics sold last year. I'm guessing their proportion is a couple percent at best. I mean, what is total Civic Type R sales? 3,345.
What about SI?
So that's 1.7% of production is Civic Type R. SI sales are 7,128. So the total
only
of
7,000. So those cars together represent 10,000 out of 200,000. Yep. So 0.5%.
No.
5%.
5.
I'm good at math, just not at decimals. Okay.
Yeah, 5%.
So I think
so 5% of the Civics
are
definitely manuals.
Okay, so I think the number is like 7%.
You're dead right.
Okay.
Which is a lot of manuals, actually, if you're talking about like in absolute terms. It's a lot of cars.
Yeah,
compared to.
So that is roughly 15,000 cars. No. Okay, I'm bad at math and at decimals. I don't know. Is it 14,000 cars?
Yeah. Which means that of all of the 180,000 non-SI / Type R trims of Civic, they only sold 2,000 manuals. Mm-hmm. That's
4,000,
3 or 4,000.
Yeah,
not a lot of cars. Yeah. So you can see why would Honda? There's no reason for Honda to even make that car. I mean, the joke is when a Civic Sport is twice as rare as a Civic Si, like
with a manual.
With a manual, yeah, you just don't. They're not going to do it again because no one's.
And
buying
is this this is a reflection of the market and not production strategy?
Look, it's probably both, right? First of all, there are disadvantages to car companies for selling manuals in a lot of countries because they don't achieve the CO2 numbers or the fuel economy numbers that the automatics do.
Because there's fewer ratios and they're more widely spaced.
And they can cheat on the tests. That's the bigger issue, is that you can cheat on drive-by noise tests by refusing to downshift.
The automatic too.
So they can gear the automatic differently than the manual, and then they can use strategies that optimize fuel economy on when the cars know they're being driven on the cycle. And this is not Dieselgate. This is a different thing, right? But under these parameters,
same technique.
Well, it's not, because they're the same in the real world, right? The idea is that in the same.
But you just said when the cars know that they're being tested.
Yeah, but they could be tested on the road. So, for example, there are cars like you get into a Nissan GTR or a 5.6 liter Nissan at 28 miles an hour, you floor it, you're not getting a downshift for a couple seconds, and that's to get through the acoustic box
of measuring zone
drive-by noise, and it functions the same way in the real world as it does on a testing cycle. It just happens to be that you hit those parameters. There are times. Scion and Toyota was really obvious when they were doing this stuff. You would be driving in a manual and you would lift off the throttle and you had no engine braking at all.
Yeah.
And you could literally slide the gear out of the lever out of gear and it would still hold those revs and go right back in and out and in and out. And what it was the engine computer exactly matching zero load, effectively holding the engine there, because that was A, better for emissions, and B, better for fuel economy. Because if you're not slowing down, you take your foot off the gas, you have to speed back up. Yeah. So it was better for the car to not slow down on the test. So therefore the cars do it in the real world. These are tricks that are much easier to play on automatics than they are to play on manuals. But Toyota didn't cover them up as well, and you can see them. So there are benefits to that. There are also benefits from the dealer level. Because remember, we're not the customers. The dealers are the customers. And so the dealers will order the cars that they think they can sell more quickly. Well, if Honda sold 12,000 special Civics last year and 188,000 regular Civics, what do you think the dealer's going to buy? Aside from the fact that these motherfuckers charge $20,000 in markups on Civic Type Rs. But otherwise, the quick sale, the quick and easy sale, and the uneducated customer who's going to come in and say, I need a car and I can pay $900 a month. What do you got? And they put them in a base Civic. That's what they want. So they're just going to buy the automatic. They're not going to even stock the manuals.
Yeah.
But I find it amazing that 7%, I mean, that's a lot of manuals for a car that's the size of a 7 Series. It's another one. The Civic is huge.
Yeah.
It's not a small car.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with it with a manual because you can actually feel and hear the motor-ish.
It's dynamically kind of small feeling anyway, even if it's physically not.
Yeah, that one works. Hyundai Elantra N. You've driven Elantra N and
I have not.
Oh, I thought you were there for that drag race we did. Veloster N and Elantra N are interesting. Veloster N was an absolute highlight of the last 10 years. One of the best hot hatches ever made. To look at, but didn't matter. I would still own one.
The Elantra N is even worse looking.
Elantra N raises the bar on hideousness. And actually is far less interesting to drive as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't have any of the pops and bangs that got people arrested in their fucking.
It's not arrested, but yes,
pulled over and ticketed, and the cars impounded and shit like that.
That's right.
So it kind of sounds like a vacuum cleaner, and God, is it ugly? But
I think the take rate there is 20%.
It's 25, and I think that I've never seen an Elantra N on the road. I think it's 25% of 4. So they sold one car. Mm-hmm. I don't. I mean, maybe other parts around the country, you guys can chime in if you see Elantra N's, but I've seen one in my life, and it was the one that we drove as the first car. Jeep said, fuck off. Kia Forte. Which is, by the way, quite ironic. At the top of the lineup, it's the most expensive one, where, we just mentioned the Tweedy professor with a cap on would always buy the cheapest Nissan Stanza with the manual, the 4-speed manual instead of the 5, because it was $9,990. The Forte.
I'm going to guess it's 3%.
It is 2%. Huh. Which is interesting. It's one of the few cars that you don't think about, but actually it's quite cool looking. But I guess
it?
if you want a manual runabout, you could have a Kia Forte.
Or a used, I don't know, Fiesta ST, Fiestast.
Fiestas. It's not a sedan, but yes, I would obviously have one. Okay, interesting one coming up. Mazda MX-5 Miata.
71%.
You are wrong.
Okay.
Do you think it's higher or lower?
Well, I thought it was exactly that, which is why I said it.
It's only 60%. And I find that really upsetting.
Huh.
I mean,
That's the highest number we've seen so far, to be fair.
I want to know GT3, and we're not there. We're not at P yet, but I'm guessing it should be higher than 60%. There are other cars.
But now
that I
you
know,
see why it's available as an automatic.
Yeah. So 5,834 MX-5s were manual, which is not good. I think
sales volume.
it's a tiny sales volume.
What did they sell initially? They sold in much larger numbers initially when the MX-5s first came out in 1990.
If you look at, they were six figures for the first year or three, if I remember correctly. They sold a shit ton of them, and it just
rare car
plummeted.
now.
Yeah, it plummeted. I mean, no one.
We've talked about why that is, though.
Yeah,
Nobody
got
has
money.
the discretionary income to buy a cheap, the least expensive dedicated the sports car you can.
Yep. Okay, so next up is Mini, and this one's really interesting. So it's divided. Motor One has it divided in three different things. I'm going to start with the least enthusiastic of all the cars. So not John Cooper Works, not Cooper S, but all other models of Mini.
5%.
That would be a huge number because that would be 2.5 times the Kia Forte number. And what, 3 times what Honda non-Civic Si, like Honda Civic non-Si type R. But it's 11%.
Really?
Which is fucking massive.
Wow.
Right? I mean, more than 1 out of 10 people bought a manual in this day and age. And that's
on like a sort of non-sporty, yeah.
And I believe that also includes Countrymen. That might be everybody.
Oh, which is like the 4-door SUV that's as many skin wearing.
Cooper and Cooper S and the convertible. No. There's no. I don't know how they have this. This might just be Cooper. This might be non-Countryman because I think the Countryman manual is dead. But no, the Countryman's dead. But anyway, 11% is a massive number. Wow. But if you look around, you walk around San Francisco. San Francisco is kind of a hub for Mini sales.
Yeah.
You need a small parking spot, and they're premium, and people have money, and they drive up steep driveways, and they have very short overhangs and short overhangs.
Yeah.
But you drive around and you look at cars parked on the street here, and you see a lot of manuals, which is really nice. It's kind of refreshing. But 11% overall. Okay, Cooper S.
35%.
22. I mean, you were on the right track, right? Enthusiast. It's the fast one. Sure, 22%. Now, John Cooper Works 2-door.
Is that available both ways?
Yes. Well, otherwise it would be included. It would be 100.
Would be 100%. Yes. 51%.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Really?
That's fucking scary. Is there some like reflection behind me? Can you see my screen, you freak?
51?
51%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, JCW is 51%. And I'm actually surprised it's
not higher.
I didn't even know you could get that car as a manual. The JCW I drove was an automatic, and it's a torque converter automatic, and there was no other choice. And the car was a riot, but I don't know how
that
I
could
missed.
be an interesting corner of automotive enthusiasm currently available.
Anyone from BMW, if you're currently listening, please send us a JCW manual. But they did say it was. Mini is they did say that they suspect that the take rate had jumped or was that high because they had announced discontinuation. But I wonder what it was the year before. Nissan declined to comment on Z, but again, turbo. I mean, that's a car that should be almost all manuals, but turbo.
I think it's plus or minus 10% from 50.
Yeah, probably. 718 and 911 all combined on percentage of models where a manual is offered. And this
Does
is
that
gonna be
include
one-
GT cars?
I believe so. Yes.
Big. Useless. That resolution of data is too low to be
I know.
useful.
Well, think about this.
Well, I would also like to know what percentage of the cars they sell are GT cars versus not.
Probably
What's the
not.
number of volume of those cars that is the denominator?
911 total sales USA 2023. Let's look. So Porsche sold a total of 11,700 911s.
And what about 718s?
And then 718s 4,500. It's fucking nothing.
4,500?
Would you buy that 4-cylinder piece of shit?
Well, that includes GT4s, right?
Yeah.
So they sold a total of 15,000 cars.
You do know that Porsche cannot sell non-GT versions of Porsche sports cars.
Okay. So then, and I think I know that when the 991 came out, the take rate was like 65 or 70% stick shift GT3, the 2.2. And I'm going to assume that 50% of what they sell is GT cars. So that's 7,500 cars. I think that the take rate is 47%. No, I think it's lower.
Yeah, I can't see how many GT cars they delivered. That would be the
Low 40s.
40. Yeah. Which is pretty good. My guess is the GT3, for example, on the GT
I think the
cars,
GT3 take rate
or put it this,
is
naturally
60.
aspirated cars are probably
Yes.
60 to 80%, depending on the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more, like, I can't imagine why you would buy a Cayman, I guess RS is only, like a GT4 manual. Why would you buy a GT4 automatic? Just
PDK. Yeah.
cut yourself and buy a 4-cylinder at that point because you don't know what you're doing.
Or you want a GT4 RS and can't afford it and you're going to the track.
Who do you think you are? Like, why do you need an automatic on track? All right.
Because you're too busy trying to keep the car shiny side up to worry about adding gear changes
Well, then
to the mix.
buy a Miata, learn how to drive the thing, and then come back to Porsche once you can figure that out.
Yes, that's the right
Thank
answer,
you.
but
Good.
that's not. But that's not what they're going to do.
If only what I just said. What video was it that we decided that all GT3s should was it GT3s should come with a Miata?
Oh, yes.
To learn how to drive on.
That's a good idea.
All GT cars. Okay, Subaru regular Impreza and Crosstrek manual take rate.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Those are the ones that win traffic. Like when you see a Subaru and it's actually keeping up and not like mooing its way up to 41 miles an hour in the left lane. That's a manual. That's how you can tell.
4%.
1.6. Yeah, and no one really wants those things. However, WRX, which is the same car just with
Yeah, I
turbo.
think it's 36%.
74.
Manual?
74% manual.
No way.
Way. And that's because
And there's no STI.
not since I took that doxycycline. Oh, WRX STI. Yes, correct. Yeah, WRX is 74%.
Kidding. So is that the highest number on the board that
No.
we've seen?
No,
Because VW.
we're not going to discuss this. But yeah, 74%. 3/4 of WRX buyers are buying a WRX. And as it turns
as a
out,
manual.
well, the rest, anyone who's buying a fucking CVT WRX is not buying a WRX.
Oh, the alternative is a CVT?
Yeah. Somehow I've just gotten a WhatsApp message, despite the fact that it's very obvious, thanks to that little moon thing that my phone is on Do Not Disturb.
Excellent.
Apple, when I say Do Not Disturb, I mean it.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Or Do
D&D.
Not Disturb, yeah. Yes. So yeah, the alternative is a CVT.
Okay.
So 1 out of 4 Subaru WRX buyers is a fucking idiot. Or paraplegic. In one on the left leg. BRZ.
Um, 69%.
79%. Which means 4 out of 5 BRZ buyers is a hero. And the 5th one is buying the car for the wrong reason.
Monopedal.
Dead inside.
Has a amputation.
Yes, it's an amputee. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, I mean, admittedly, I'm going to turn this down so we stop hearing my WhatsApp going off. Admittedly, the BRZ with an automatic is not fully auto tragic, but it's also kind of missing the point. Now, I guess if you really sat in traffic all day, every day,
You'd buy a different car?
yeah, but not everyone has the opportunity to have multiple cars. Okay. Like I want them to have a BRZ. And so, okay, I guess if you have to, I just think like, don't give me this shit that like, I'm 25 years old and I have like a commute. So I just want to sit in traffic. And then you go to the gym and do leggy pushy things. Fuck off. Just drive a goddamn manual.
That's what I did.
And look at the size of your left leg. That's my favorite thing about the LMO2 episode was the Photoshop I did of Tina Turner's left leg. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm. I did. Yes.
Yeah, the Lamborghini LMO2's clutch is like insane. And so I had to, and Tina Turner had her LMO2 converted to an automatic. So because I don't think she could drive stick, but I couldn't clear that up. So I made it vague in the video. But I just thought it would be very funny that she, who had the most admired legs in the world in the 1980s, would have been rather lopsided if she had driven an LMO2 every day. Okay. Toyota has 3 models with a manual. First one.
Where it's optional as opposed to mandatory.
Yes.
Right? It's mandatory on the 3-cylinder cars.
GR Corolla, yes. Toyota Tacoma manual.
3%.
1.4.
Okay.
Not bad. I mean, they sell a lot of Tacomas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they sell 234,768 Tacomas last year. So 3,287 manuals, which is not a lot. Just 1.4. That's not good.
Okay.
Not a lot. But it did justify carrying it forward until 2024. Okay, next one. GR Supra.
I think it's 39%.
It's 43. And I think the Supra manual is a better manual than any other BMW manuals. Toyota asked them to make some changes to the linkage, and it's okay, but I just don't think that car works, and that engine works particularly well with a manual. It's a really, really laggy engine, and you don't notice that with the automatic because it's always playing tricks like slipping the torque converter and whatever else to mask the lag.
And there's more ratios.
Yeah, really short, really close ratios.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good considering I don't think it actually works all that well. Again, same with M2, which is 50%. GR86, which is
Was that going to be different from the BRZ?
Very, as it turns out.
What?
This has always happened.
My
So BRZ was 79%. GR86 is
59%?
48.
What in tarnation? It's like a
happened-
pragmatic thing where you're like, I'm buying a Toyota, it's a practical sports car, as opposed to I'm buying a Subaru, it's an enthusiast car.
I don't understand I don't understand what the fuck is happening because this happened with first gen BRZ when it first came out with Scion versus Scion FRS. I remember talking to
More automatic Scions?
yeah, they were like the BRZ was like 91, I feel like 91% manual at some point, and the Toyota was like half. And the only explanation that we could come up with, because there was no pricing differences or incentive otherwise, was that
the brand identity.
The dealers.
Dealers ordering.
Yeah, Toyota dealers were just used to ordering automatics and they would just order all the automatics. And so if you found one on a lot, because I don't think anyone really gave a shit about whether, I'm buying a Scion or I'm buying,
I feel like if you were like, I'm choosing a Toyota sports car, you're a slightly more sort of pragmatic and less enthusiastic minded person than a Subaru, which has a sort of strong enthusiast identity because of their participation in World Rally. I don't know.
Do you really think anyone
speculating.
who's buying a BRZ/GR86 doesn't know that it's the same exact car at both dealerships?
I don't know. Honey, look at that thing. It's cute.
Yeah.
While they're in the Toyota showroom.
Right? I think that happens, but I'm guessing that's a very small, like single digit percentage of buyers for both, on both sides. I think that car is a very specific targeted audience who really knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I always found that so interesting that they could be so different. I think to me,
that's why they made 2 versions of the same car, apparently, because they are attracting different
They
people.
made two versions of the same car because the Japanese government told them they had to. That was one of the sort of
Joint venture.
things mandated by the government to help both companies out when they were not doing well. But I think I would make the decision based on which dealer is close to me, and who's got what in stock. And frankly, if the Subaru dealer's got a manual in stock,
You're going there.
I'm going there. But if they don't, they can't find anything, and the Scion dealership has one, I'll buy them. So I don't know. That I found very interesting. Volkswagen. Okay.
So do they pull the GTI or the GTI is the only manual?
No, Jetta.
Jetta.
Jetta base.
But there's
Jetta.
no Golf manual.
There's no Golf. Golf is dead.
There's no Golf manual.
Correct.
Or
no Golf
automatic.
ESG either.
Or
So, all right. So we have Jetta base. So base Jetta and Jetta Sport, which is not GLI, but base Jetta. It has a manual transmission available, and how many percentage of people bought it?
3.
5. Which is not bad. Again, not
Yeah.
bad for a massive car, but German car enthusiasts tend to be, or even just German.
In the US, certainly, yeah.
All right, GLI.
23%.
40.
Huh.
GLI is a healthy manual buyer,
Okay.
which is good. That's another one where that manual is kneecapped with a 74 mile an hour second gear, where the DSG is like a 55 mile an hour second gear. It's so much slower.
Yeah.
And it's just a big ropey, not great manual. And yet 40% of people go for it.
Well, there's so few choices left that if you want a German manual car and you can't afford a Porsche,
GT3,
then
yeah.
or a
an M2.
BMW, then there you go.
Yep.
Right? Those are your 3 choices for German manual cars: BMW, VW, or Porsche. It just depends on how many dollars you have to spend.
Yeah, it's true. Sad. But GTI, which is effectively mechanically identical to Jetta GLI, just shorter wheelbase and a different form factor. Is it much different? Yes or no? Find out now.
I think it is higher, but not that high. So I guess we'll call it 46%.
It's 50. And it's always been 50. That's the interesting thing, is that from the day that DSG became available on the GTI, it has always been 50% and it never changed. It dropped a little bit on Mark 7, I want to say, early on in Mark 7, and they were like, it's the end of the manual. And then it picked right back up. And it's just been 50% across the board.
But they're shit canning it, right?
They are now. And that's
No manual GTI.
no manual GTI.
Even though the take rate is 50%.
Yes.
Che cazzo? What the hell?
Katsu is very simple and easy to explain. We no longer have a plant in North America that builds Golf. We had Pueblo, Mexico, which built all of the last generation Golfs. That is no longer building Golf. So all of the Golfs are coming from Germany, which means, i.e. GTIs, which means they're expensive to build and they have expensive to ship and they don't have the tax and import duty
benefit from coming
advantageousness.
within NAFTA.
Right, exactly. And then you look at the total sales numbers. What did they tell? Did they even say how many sales there were last year?
You can Google it.
Volkswagen probably sold 10 GTIs last year. 2023 GTI sales USA. 7. The Grand Tour. Okay, I know we're looking at a Motor One thing, and so I'm appreciative to the Motor One guys for compiling this list, thus making this episode much easier for us. But they referred to it in a different article as the Grand Tour Injection saw a sales jump to 6 point. What? It's a fucking GTI. No one's calling it by its formal Christian name.
Unless it's in trouble because it's being discontinued.
I responded to that. 7,400. 7,451.
7,400.
Yeah.
And what was it in like?
And by the way, Golf R was 3,200. And that Golf R is a profit cow, I'm sure. Well, it was except that it was built in Germany.
And if we go back to say 2019 peak Mark 7ing time or something like that, what was the volume of cars then? Not 7,400. It was
Probably 10,000.
that few.
Yeah. 2019 was 11,600.
Oh,
2018 was 16. 2020 was here we go. This is a good car, bad car, or one of these sides. VW going backwards. 2020. Oh, this is not in chronological order. Golf GTI USA starting in 2023 and then going backwards. 7,451. 6203.
Not a full model year.
Yeah, 2022. 2021, 6183. 2020, 8697. 2019, 11672. 2018, 16684. 2017, 22,486. And
Continual
2016,
decline.
13. Well, not really. So if you look at, 2014, you had 2,000 units. That was the Mark 6, was dead at that point. 2015, 3,700, dead again. Mark 6 was...
Well, Mark 7 was just coming online.
Well, right. And then 2016 became 13,000, then 22, then 17, 12, 9.
Yeah.
Right?
So the first full year that it was available when it was still fresh, it sold the best.
Right.
then
And
it
the first full year of Mark 8 didn't outsell the last year of Mark 7. So Mark 8 has been a complete and total failure. Look at the fucking thing. It's horrible.
Well, and I guess if it's made in Germany, then there's probably some logistical...
Well, it got more expensive. Number one, it got more expensive. Number two, it got ugly. Number three, it got capacitive touch controls. Number four, it has a shitty interior and bad UX. And I don't think took a really big step in the right direction dynamically. Nothing to
offset all of those
offset
minuses.
any of the minuses. Now, Golf R did. Different story. Because it got a real all-wheel drive system. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about a 7,000 unit car at this point. Nothing. But 40% are manual. And now, by the way, hold on, that's 7,000 units. What do you think worldwide GTI sales are?
1 gazillion million billion trillion.
I'm not even going to look it up because you're probably right. I mean, Volkswagen sells a shit ton of Golfs. And to take 7,000 units and say half of that is 3,500 manuals a year just for the US market, when Europe is done with them, like, fuck Europe. They've just completely destroyed the manual market for everyone else. And so 3,000 units of manual transmission, totally not worth it to Volkswagen. I don't care. That's not my business. I still think it was the wrong choice. Not my business whether they make money on the car or not, but that sucks.
Yeah.
That really sucks. Golf R. So if GTI is 50, did I say it was 40?
You did.
I did.
Say 50. I guessed 43 or something.
Golf R.
39.
Why less?
All-wheel drive, people are more interested in traction and performance and absolute numbers. More expensive car. I don't know. I just am... It's
You're right.
instinctive.
You're right. It should actually be higher because you would think very much like a WRX. It may be turbocharged and all-wheel drive, but it is actually the most performant version.
Yeah.
And that all-wheel drive system is now fucking great and whatever, but it's only 40%. And the reason I'm sure why
So I was 1% off.
is the gulf in performance between the automatic, the DSG and the manual is enormous.
Yeah.
Manual's gears are totally ill chosen for that engine, and by the time you get a turbo big enough to get 300 and something horsepower to that thing, it's just laggy as fuck.
Yeah.
And as much as I hate to say it, I would take an automatic. I wouldn't have one, but I wouldn't choose the manual. Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
So that's the state. That's every manual car sold in America, which is not good. So it's kind of over.
Yeah.
And when GTI goes away, we have no hope. I mean, M has now said their cars are going away. BMW is not really selling anything else with a manual. Sad, but you sort of understand why Volkswagen's doing it when you have 3,000 units out of, like, what was total Golf VW Golf production 2023. I mean, Volkswagen delivered 4.87 million cars worldwide last year. So of 4.87, what, 4.85 are Golf?
I hate it here.
Yeah, I don't...
So we're all just dinosaurs. I mean, nobody's gonna...
Well, what's really happening is that the cars are being outlawed. I mean, at the end of the day, enthusiasts are choosing them less. There's no question there. That's as automatics have gotten better, which makes us dinosaurs if we care about them. But the other issue is that the car makers are not incentivized to make these cars.
In fact, it's difficult. There's barriers.
Yeah. It's huge barriers for emissions, everyone bitches about rev hang. that's an emissions thing, right? You snap a throttle shut and you get a lean spike. So you suddenly get a spike of NOx, or oxides of nitrogen. And they have to somehow control that with either huge catalysts or whatever. It adds cost. And it's very difficult to deal with. Now, direct injection should have solved part of that, but apparently not if half these car companies still have rev hang. And so, you're dealing with emissions, and then you're dealing with fuel economy and drive-by laws that really favor tricks that automakers can play with their automatics. And so the result is it's that much harder, and the demand is dwindling. And we wind up in a world where...
So Aston Martin's done?
Aston Martin makes a V12 manual.
They do? Mm-hmm. Oh, we didn't
I've
get
driven
info
one.
from them.
Oh, I mean, they probably sold single digits. But that's a special model. No one else is making manuals. I mean,
V8 Vantages or manuals?
There is. I don't know if they're still selling them. There's a new Vantage this year, and I don't think it's manual anymore. But that's, again, turbocharged 4-liter AMG. Like, it's just, the recipe is naturally aspirated. If you get naturally aspirated and manual, and small, and a car that vibrates and fizzes, you will have manual sales. If you don't kneecap it. And even though Porsche kneecaps...
Plus the WRX, apparently.
Right? Yeah. But what else are you going to choose? I mean, you live in the Northeast and it snows and you don't want a Civic. What are you going to get? You're going to have to get a WRX.
As an enthusiast.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about non-enthusiasts. Fuck them.
Golf R.
It's a lot of money for a little bit of car. I mean, when you can get a Civic for the same price, that's twice the size.
Yeah.
It's a tough sell.
Yep.
And the Civic has, climate controls that light up and a volume control that lights up. Simple shit. Yeah. Interesting. Now I will finally admit it's over, with the caveat that it's only over for mass produced cars, right? Special stuff like GT3.
And apparently Miata.
Yeah. But it's special, right? I mean, those are toys, but for me, it's either manual or EV. I have no interest in automatic anything. You pulled up in one. You're in your C43 AMG, you traitor.
Yes.
And I pulled up in my Eagle.
Which has no gears.
Yeah, it's fine. But no waiting. That's the thing, is I don't mind an EV because I'm not like arguing with some stupid fucking computer that's programmed to get 900 miles per gallon out of a V8. Like, that's the one wonderful thing about your C43 AMG, is that somebody at AMG fought the fight internally and was like, some asshole is paying for gas on a 4.3 liter V8 in a car the size of a Civic. They want to go fast and they don't care about gas mileage. And that's the truth, right? That transmission is a 5-speed automatic, revs the shit out of that thing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's fairly short gearing. I mean, the final drive ratio they've chosen, 3,000 RPM in fifth gear is probably 75 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's turning on the highway.
Moving. Yeah. And I mean, it will routinely in traffic, sort of just keeping up with traffic, see 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 RPM.
Yes.
It's not uncommon to just get a 4,000 RPM shift accelerating moderately briskly.
Yes.
Unlike modern stuff, which is just yeah. And then the van. I mean, the funny thing, Anthony Esposito was here 3 weeks ago, and he drove the van and he got out and he was like, "No wonder you hate automatics." And it's a Chrysler 60. It's a 62D. It's a fine transmission. It shifts well, but it's so goddamn concerned with fuel economy that you are 90% throttle going, please just give me one goddamn gear. Give me one, because you either get one downshift or 72 downshifts, and it like spins itself to 42,000 RPM, and you're like, fuck, the motor's still cold, and I didn't want to hit that car in front of me, but I had to punt him out of the way. There's a total non-linearity in that car's transmission, where not in the AMG.
Yeah.
If automatics were more like that, I'd be more inclined.
Well, I mean, all the modern ZF ones, if you're on the boil, are very good. But yes, the default programming when you're not doing that is very
conservative,
gear happy. It's
so
really
you can usually
in,
lock them in sport modes.
Yeah. But
then my problem with the sport modes is you'll be cruising on the highway in 4th out of 9 gears.
Yes.
And it's just...
And they're, please give me just an upshift. And it's like, nope, you're in sport mode.
You're in sport. I'm going to waste money for no reason. Yeah, but I've been cruising at the same speed for 40 minutes. Ah! Yeah. So then you wind up throwing in a manual. And at that point, I'm like, just give me a stick.
Yeah.
Well,
the generation of enthusiasts that follows is eventually going to either have to, we had this conversation in the past, but either they buy old cars or they're going to unmanual themselves. we shall see.
Yeah.
Eventually, probably the latter will have to occur.
Yeah, I think it's over. Although, if it's all going to come down to legislation. If Europe, especially, will allow relatively low volume cars to have exemptions for emissions or be exempted from
Noise
fleet,
requirements.
right? Noise is really California more than anything else. It's Switzerland and California. But, say, all right, of your whole fleet, for example, Porsche, right? You sell 200 million Cayennes, Macans, and Panameras, and Taycans. For the 75 people who want a GT3, they just have what they want? And I think there's at least been some significant pushback in Europe to try to allow that to happen, because otherwise we've just legislated Ferrari out of existence, right? That's a big problem. Ferrari is now a standalone company. It's not part of Fiat Group. And how do you...
So it can't rely on the fleet characteristics.
Exactly. And now they're not looking. They stopped looking at fleet after the Ferrari split off happened anyway. And so now you're looking at a company that can no longer exist without becoming fully electric. And that's just a question that the governments need to make. That's not up for me or you to decide. It's sort of the public and the government decide, is this Italian national treasure, my words, worth having around if it's polluting the environment? And there are plenty of people, especially in Europe, who would say no.
Yeah.
People looking down on these cars and saying, no, we don't want them anymore, make them electric. And I think the pendulum might have already swung too far in Europe to allow the continuation of any internal combustion cars. Not here in the States, not yet.
Yeah.
But we're having the EV backlash now where everyone's like, no one wants electric cars. They're sitting on the lots. They're all getting sold for discount. I don't know if you saw VinFast has a $259 lease special, $289 rounds.
See, now it starts to enter the realm of being a compelling value proposition because it's dirt cheap.
Well,
which was the territory that historically was occupied by Hyundai in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And early
or
90s.
my e-Golf. I mean, between federal incentives and...
Yeah, and the 500e, the whole $48 a month or something like that.
81.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first e-Golf was $83.77 a month.
Yeah.
Like, how could I complain about that? Who cares? It was less than my cable bill.
Yeah. And it's less than a cell phone bill, and it's a lot better than walking.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. That's the state of the manual.
Dark times. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Carmudgeon Show. We will see you next time, whenever that may be. Possibly even next week.
Possibly.
But maybe not.